Nefarious, precarious, emboldened trilogy. Triptych, switch, rage, soliloquy. It's a stool, it's a tripod, Machiavellian, but you're not God. Orchestration, triangulation, evil emanating, dark triad. Big mad, the dark triad. Maestros and their symphonies, it's you and you and you. Spearheading hate-filled vengeance, delighting in the tune. Zero appetite for truth, insidiously vile. Pain inflicted, spite injected, delivered with a smile. It's a stool, it's a tripod, Machiavellian, but you're not God. Orchestration, triangulation, evil emanating, dark triad. Big mad, the dark triad. Sunlight, it's true disinfectant, drawn into the bright light. Warrior, yo kamikaze, nothing but a coked up Gary Busey. Damn egregious, drawing three, synergy of evil. Exponential perceived power, madness reigns supreme. It's a stool, it's a tripod, Machiavellian, but you're not God. Orchestration, triangulation, evil emanating, dark triad. Big mad, the dark triad. Nefarious, precarious, emboldened trilogy. Triptych, switch, they rage soliloquy. It's a stool, it's a tripod, Machiavellian, but you're not God. Orchestration, triangulation, evil emanating, dark triad. Big mad, the dark triad. The dark triad, it needs three.
Hi, sorry, my mouse. Hi, Shorties. Yikes. Hi, dogs. Hi, everyone. Happy Saturday. Different treats. Peanut, butter scrolls for these lunatics. Yee. How are we all? I'm so looking forward to this. Chatting a final thoughts wrap up with our girl, our 13th juror. Look at Poppy. They smell good. Salty Sleuth investigates. How exciting. If you are wondering why we had that intro, well, there's been a little bit of stuff going on, obviously, in social media and on the tubes. One person in particular, some of you might know, have heard of her, Maureen No Neck Callahan, who made an outrageous claim that our Karen Reid has dark triad personality traits. And, so we are going to be talking about that. You have a little clip, not necessarily of Aiden, Turtle Boy, because other people have commented on said preposterous opinion. Maybe Jen McCabe, dark triad, like maybe definitely, but not our Karen Reid. Sorry, I've been so busy this morning. Let me just, actually busy. I was late, the usual, but actual busy. Hang on, I can't see a fucking thing. Oh, that's better. It's too bright. Fuck. I'm totally a professional. I like it. We got it. Who's here? Let me put my glasses on. Fuck, I haven't even said hello. Hi. Bluebird's here. Amazing. It's Mark as well. Hi, Mark. Good to see you. Absolutely not. YouTube, what's happening? YouTube, do better. Destined to be, you got a gifted membership yesterday. All of our friends, so many of our friends yesterday in the live streams, gifted memberships went to friends. So good, so good. Who else is here? Micah, hi. Shelley, hi. Wifey, Miss Steph, hi. There she is in green. Perfect timing. While I think of it, at in 2 hours, less than, what's that? 8 Eastern, your time, 10 a.m. Australia time. We have our second Write a Song Together Camp Shorty, Miss Shorty music collaboration. It is a members only stream, just because it's been forever since I've done a like literally months and months since we've done a members only stream. So if you're in green or you're a moderator, looking forward to that one. I feel like we're probably gonna do a free a Karen is freed song. The only request, audio a little weird. Tinny. Hang on. Oh, I know what it'll be. Wait, because I only just plugged my microphone in. Thank you. Sorry. That's it. Tinny as fuck. That's take two. Hey, Tinny. It was one earbud. Not this. Am I sounding like the dulcet tones of Shorty now? Beautiful. Apologies. Like I literally skated in. I literally went to the bathroom, sat down, remembered to turn my roller skate light on over there. Time blindness is a bitch. Much better. Okay. Back. So that. Professional. Make sure you are membered up. That's it. Joe Schmoes here. Hello, sir. Good to see you. Hidden metadata. Lovely. Good to see you all. Still waiting on working louder. Grass is green enough. Hey, wait. Timberman, hi. An old Irish man here to support one of my favorite Australian truth talkers. Well, thank you. What a compliment. Kimbers is here. Fantastic. Amazing. Shelley, did I say hi? Did I say hi? Okay. Now, Miss What the Fuck, while we're waiting on Miss Salty, shall we? Oh, good point. Replay crew, hi. Thank you for joining on the replay. Replay crew is so important for YouTube. What is it? Providers. Okay, Judge Jackie Lou, righto. YouTube creators. So important. So if you would like to watch the live chat replay as you're watching the replay on your like handheld device, your mobile, your iPhone, your non-serial killer Android, your tablet, all you need to do is swipe left on the comment tab and it'll give you the option to watch the live chat replay instead. There's a couple of little dots up the top and that's where you'll find that option on any channel, not just this one, not just this best one. Wait, what? Modest too. Did I say hi, Simi? Yes. Princey, hi? God, my brain. Obviously, I clicked too fast. That's what he said. Now, what else? Next week. Okay, this takes some explaining. My birthday's on the 4th of July. I'm turning 50. I know, right? Wild. Half a century. Thanks. And before you say I don't look 50, trust me, IRL, I really do. No filter, but a lot of makeup and good lighting. Anyway, so we're doing an epic birthday stream. Also, it's my channel 1-year birthday of live streaming, about a week, less than a week after my actual birthday. So we are going to combine cake and celebrations and getting feral, because we can, on my 4th of July, but I'm in the future. So it'll be your Thursday night. It's already scheduled. Sorry, I'm pointing at the screen. It's already scheduled. So I think I've got it scheduled for 8 Eastern, Thursday night your time, which is 10 a.m. 4th of July here in the future in Australia. We've also got some amazing. I don't know when y'all shorties have become shorties along the journey. I know there's a few OGs in here, like Ruthie. There's Salty. Amazing. Salty's in the house. So we're pulling together, the royal we, the shorties, the Discord shorties, the mod squad, me, and Ms. What the Fuck, obviously, pulling together some most memorable clips over the last 12 months to celebrate. It's a dual celebration. Hi, Hank's Liars. Now, and yes, I am very aware that the 4th of July is a huge holiday in the US. Very aware. That's why, like, I am worldwide, baby. So, without further ado, because our gorgeous friend Miss Salty is backstage now, please give our 13th juror, Ms. Salty Sleuth, a very warm welcome.
Aw.
Well, hello.
Hello. How are you, dear?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. I'm good.
Look, I know you are not keen to. I know you are keen to wrap up the Karen Reed business in a bow and move forward. And I feel you. And I'm sorry we had to postpone our scheduled conversation last week, which probably would have been a little more timely, but it is what it is. So here we
Oh
are.
no, it's good because there's a lot has happened since the verdict. So it's good this way. But yeah, I'm Karen Reed's been freed, right? And there's been a lot after all the unpacking and that we needed to do and just the decompressing, right? So I think,
Yes.
we're getting there with that, and a lot of great discussions have happened since the verdict. And so yeah, I think I was looking forward to coming over here and talking to you guys and chat about it. And yep, then I'll be wrapping it up and I'm moving on to other cases.
Moving on. Same girl. Now your audio is a little crackly. Are you on
no.
a
I'm
headset
on my
or
No, I'm on my phone. Let me leave and come back, okay? Let me try that.
okay, yes. Because
Sometimes that'll
otherwise
work.
Shadow scream at us. Yeah. Okay, I'll see you in
Okay,
a tick.
let me try that. Let me try that. I'll be back. Okay.
Easy peasy. So Buster says, yeah, I'm here, but I'm here, but I'm here. So listening while making supper. Amazing. What are you making, Hank's Liars? What are you making? Bluebird. Bluebird, we are going to send the biggest thoughts and prayers out because it's songwriting night after this. Yes, sage. What else? What else have we got for news? There's a poll. Y'all, I don't know. That was a tough choice. Personally, I would have voted for Salty as the tits because that's my favorite accolade. Here she is. She's back. Let's hear if she's crackling. Hello.
Okay. Hopefully that's better. Any better?
Yeah, it's the same.
Is it
That's
now?
okay. I wonder
No,
if
well,
we can. I don't.
if it's too bad, I can go join on the PC and try that out. But I'm on my phone as usual.
Yeah, like you've never been crackly ever before. You're salty, but you're never crackly. Let me see. No, yeah. Maybe that's annoying for you because you want to be able to go outside and stuff. But would that be okay?
No,
If you
that's
go on
fine.
your
I can do
PC?
that. Yeah, and I can
Yeah,
try
I
out
just
coming on the PC. Let's try that. I'll be back in just a minute. No
beautiful. Thank you
problem.
so much. Salty.
Okay. No problem.
Now, okay, because we want to hear quality. No, but we can deal. Yes. We have to write a smash hit. Yes, I'm so excited. And then you know what else I'm excited about? Let's just shoot the shit for a minute. I'm not sure if I've told y'all, but we, the channel, we, the people, we, the shorties, we Camp Shorty, are going to add into our collection of professionalism pre-recorded, and I hate this phrase, but true crime videos. And so behind the scenes, I know it seems amazing, but I've actually been doing some work, a lot of work, pulling together the resources, video clips, news clips, documents, and writing a script for our first case, which is going to be the murder of Alison Baden Clay, which most of you won't have heard of, I presume, because it's an Australian case. I'm very excited. We're going to probably release them in smaller, short parts, smaller sections, episodic, because YouTube seems to like YouTube viewers generally seem to like shorter form content. Give me 8 hours, give me 12 hours. But apparently not everybody's like that. Hi, Jim Jerry Gunn. Good to see you. So look out for that. And you all know that our producer, Ms. What the Fuck, who is like stupidly talented and just picks shit up like that, you all know she's made. I wrote a song, a little short one. She's made the most amazing intro and outro. I almost vomited. I'm not joking. I almost vomited at how good it was. I was like, oh my God, I feel sick. This is so good. Eesh. Maybe we're going to be real professionals. One can only hope. So that's very exciting. Feel free to send me your case suggestions. I guess I'd like to shine a light on some lesser known cases, but we'll also cover big ones. That's what she said. Hi, Rach. Good to see you. Did I say hi, Jim? Hi, Jim Jerry Gunn. Yes, I did. I'm sure I did. So, shall we, Ms. What the Fuck, did you say you have Salty's first impressions from week 1 pulled up? Shall we play that while we're getting just a trip down memory lane? It was like a lifetime ago. Shall we do that? Just while Salty's getting herself organized on the PC. Boom. Oh, hey, it's me. Hi. Ooh, Shorty. Whoa, what's going on with my makeup? Jeez Louise. Got excited with the bronzer. Okay, yikes. Just pretend I don't look just like that. Because I've got clips to watch, but let's go with an overview. What did you know? And then what do you think or feel now?
Well, I knew she said things in public. I knew things were said about the homeowners, and what the allegations were against them. But I didn't watch any of the experts testify at trial as to the wounds or what it could have caused them and all those things. So, but I do know, what they alleged happened and what
somebody take the bronzer away from her.
Happened. But so far with this first week, they're going to have a real hard time getting me there to convince
me. They being the Commonwealth? The Commonwealth?
Yes, the Commonwealth will have a hard time getting me there that she maliciously mowed down this man and took off and left him there to die.
Okay, good. I mean,
yeah.
Pause, please, Ms. I personally am. So I don't know about you all. I remember thinking at the time, like, for starters, bronzer, no. But also, no, I wasn't thinking that then. Obviously, I thought I looked fucking amazing. I remember thinking, Salty, I can't. It's really hard not to say anything like, woman, the car didn't hit. And maybe I did say that. John wasn't hitting by car. No Lexus or any car or a spaceship. And that Lexus didn't hit John. But we I think at the time, we managed to, dirty pause, by the way. Fuck. We managed to remain calm. Thank you. That's much better. Ish. Space Lexus, exactly. We managed to go with the whole. Remember, Wait for Us, David Yannetti, the Wait for Us theme. Here she is. And we waited for Salty, and we're at the other end now. So, hi, Salty.
Hi, is this any better? Can you hear me?
Oh, that's amazing. Yes.
Oh, yay. Okay.
Yay.
Perfect.
Good. So we're just watching. I'm horrified by my makeup in this clip, but anyway, we're watching you in our at the end of week 1. So our very first 13th juror catch up. This is your thoughts then. Luckily for you don't have to look at your past self and wonder what the fuck, because I am right now. All right, so let's press play, Ms. What the Fuck, please, and thank you. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I'm firm. I personally am in the Karen Reed is factually innocent camp. I
Yeah.
know, for example, Joe Schmo
Shock
isn't so
horror.
sure, and that's fine. Everybody has their right to an opinion.
Mhm.
I'm. This is all like ludicrous, but so then.
Okay, maybe I was a bit opinionated.
Haven't watched any of the Dateline specials, 2020 specials in the last 4 years. Without Karen Reed.
I avoided them. I'll be honest. I avoided them at all costs. I've only literally seen what Twitter post and what I saw in court. I didn't watch any of the Datelines on the Karen Reed stuff.
Excellent.
Yeah,
So then
because I
what's your-
really,
how do those
I did it on purpose to start with the first time the trial happened, because I intended to watch it, but I was sucked into another case that I had been
Yes.
following, and so I just kind of put Karen on the back burner.
Oh, I'm
There
so
was
confused.
much
I'm like,
going
who's
on
that
with
in
I
chat?
just
Wait,
like,
that's them.
you know.
All right. So
But you know,
let's listen to the end of Salty's comment, where I hopefully will shut the fuck up instead of talking over some of you. Sorry, Salty, and then
No,
we'll
you're
get you. Yeah, let's do it.
I just feel like I've already heard 2 witnesses testify that I know that it sounds like their grand jury testimony compared to now. It's a little different, a little shady, not as matter of fact as what they presented to me earlier. Do you know what I mean? Like
I
the
do.
yeah, like the first responder paramedic guy and my notes are in the house. The other lady that testified,
Kerri
the friend of
Roberts.
John O'Keefe's, no, the friend of John, Kerri, yes, her.
Pause, please, Miss. What the fuck?
I couldn't figure her out.
So I'm going to pause there. Salty, is
Mhm.
it funny looking and listening back to when was this? The end of April.
Yeah.
Now you know full well who Kerri Bloody Roberts is, don't you?
Full bloody well. And you man, y'all weren't lying.
Right?
Yeah, yeah. I got a lot to say.
So yeah, okay. So I think that's nice remembering of where you were with things. I mean, I when you were swapping over to your just before when you were fixing your sound, I remember at the time being like literally like, oh my god, Salty, I'm not going to try to force my opinion down your throat, but that's what she said. But but I promise you, like I remember saying, like, just wait till Arca, please wait till Arca. So I guess my first question would be, as an overarching thing, was it one witness or one thing for you that got you to where I think you maybe are now, or was it a cumulative effect?
It was cumulative, and I was really leaning toward this probably didn't happen. I knew it didn't happen the way that the prosecution presented. I was really leaning toward was there even an accident? And so I was really anticipating the ARCA expert's testimony, and it was just really good testimony as far as being a good expert, explaining their field, explaining how they did their testing and why they did it. And it was so much better than the Blue Man experience, Blue Man paint experience, much more professional. And I think, even they couldn't, there was just, nobody could prove a vehicle ran over the man to start with, period. And there was, you couple that ARCA testimony along with Maria Russell's testimony, and along with was it La Pasta? How do you say her name?
Lapasata.
Lapasata. Her. With her testimony into consideration as well. They were very thorough in their explanations, and it was left up to me to decipher, what they said and how it applied to the case, and it made sense. It just left far too many questions, but there was nowhere near enough evidence to even prove the vehicle caused the injuries to start with, and they were so far off from proving murder from the get-go, right? Never. I considered maybe she hit him on accident, right? I never took that off the table. She was drinking, things happen, I get it. I could have seen that she backed over him accidentally, but if you take into consideration where the body was located, evidence like that, the injuries sustained, and how they could have happened if a vehicle had or hadn't hit him, all those things had to come into account. Juror, the foreman, did a really good job of explaining the same things I took into consideration. I thought when I finally heard him speak, at length, I was like, man, they really did consider the same things I was considering. Even the
Yes.
recall of, wait a minute, that time that you're spitting out doesn't match a time another expert testified to as far as movements of John O'Keefe and things of that nature. So, yeah.
I think it's been interesting to, like you just said, we coined you because you basically were as our 13th juror. I mean, you weren't sitting in the
Yeah.
courtroom, but you came in with the same kind of vague understanding, or what you'd very briefly heard in the media, but had not engaged in any of it, whether it was mainstream media or YouTube or documentaries. And your viewpoint was always, it's been really interesting. I've been constantly noticing the similarities between what the jurors who've come out in public and made statements, amazing statements, have been saying, and the process, their mental process throughout, and yours. And that's a really valuable thing. You're a really good example of, as are they, of how one should go into watching or participating in a
Yeah.
trial, right?
And even if you take away the third party culprit whole thing, like what's your theory of how things may have went down, the fact that is that if you just set that aside, they still couldn't prove a vehicle hit John O'Keefe. And they don't know, nobody proved what happened to John O'Keefe, but they failed to prove it happened with a vehicle. And then you just take that into account with the sketchiness and the shadiness of the witnesses from within that home. Their own behavior, applied, because they were so combative on the stand. It's like they were prepared for someone to come at them hard, so they came in real defensive. Maybe that was a good thing for the defense, because I feel like the prosecution may have prepped them. Look, they're going to come at you, go in there, balls to the walls, you just hold your ground and stand firm. And they did. And the defense is like, wait a minute, well, we're the nice guys here. What's wrong with you? Why are you so hostile? You're so aggressive here. They appeared to be aggressive in nature. Witnesses appeared to be lying. So you have to take all this, all this piles up, and then you bring in the ARCA experts and the doctors, and there you have it.
It was very powerful. I think the strength of the defense case in chief was unshakable. And how did you appreciate the progression from, I don't know if you recall, he was very good. In my opinion, he was very good looking and had great testimony, but it wasn't hugely impactful. The de Sogra, the very first witness of the defense case in chief. Well, have we spoken about that? We have, I think.
I think we touched on that one for the first week, because we've met since after the defense started their case in chief.
Yeah. Yes, it was the weekend. Yes, and so we had the very start of Dr. Rentschler. Am I right? Or was it the very start of Dr.
I think it was.
Right.
I have to go back and look at it again, but yeah, because we've discussed so much with all these different witnesses, right? Now, I was, really with the opening statements and the things that were the prosecution present. They were, we're going to prove this, and the defense is like, well, we're going to prove this, and then you wait, and see what each one presents. And even watching, I was wondering, how do the jurors' perception of the attorneys play into what they feel, right? Can I trust this attorney? Is he lying to me? And he's super aggressive. So
because you're a juror, so
yeah.
Along the way I'd asked you what you thought of the jurors, but of the attorneys, but how about now, in summation, as a juror, not as just necessarily a viewer, your thoughts on all the attorneys? Let's start with, obviously, Hank Brennan. Fuck.
Well, you know what? I thought, okay, I'm going to give him a chance, right? See if he's any good at what he does. I've heard that he's good at what he does. And he was good at what he does. But he's also very good at being super shady. Very aggressive with the witnesses, especially the defense witnesses, right? He was so sarcastic to them. he was insulting to the witnesses by putting them down and questioning. You know, I know that the defense put Burgess through the ringer, but Burgess deserved it, right? You know, you that was, you know, hey, stop it. I'm babysitting one little kid. Go in there, honey. Y'all chill out. It's my son and his girlfriend took all the kids to the racetrack, and one of them didn't want to go. She stayed with me. So she was just playing with the dog, and they were making noise. So if you hear noise, it's this a little girl in the background. But anyway,
that's lovely.
So yeah, I felt like, first of all of his witnesses were really aggressive with the defense, and then he was aggressive himself with, you know, the defense's witnesses. And I thought, well, I don't know. It seems like they were really trying harder than they needed to. And then the defense was the opposite of that. They came in hard and when they needed to be, with good reason, especially when Brennan stood up there and presented false evidence. You know, all these to Dr. Wolf, or the ARCA expert Wolf. Is that his name?
Wolf.
Yeah. So when he presented the sweatshirt to him of John's with the holes in the back, that we all know that was bullshit, right? That's not what that was. That, and then him wanting to get up there and offer his own remedy and his little fake apology. And he wanted to pretend to look all humble, and I made a mistake, and I think the remedy should be. And I thought, no, you don't get, you can suggest what you think it may be, but the judge should have come down a little harder on that, I think. And I happened to hear the jury foreman talking about that episode.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't think, you know, I know that the judge told them to ignore that testimony because it was wrong, but that stuck with them apparently, that it even happened. And I just caught a piece of that yesterday. I thought, oh, wait, so they did pay attention to when Hank got up there and presented the evidence wrong, because, man, he should have known better.
Absolutely. And I think actually that it backfired on Hank. Depending on what your thoughts are, I know what mine are on Hank's true intentions, but we'll say we can save that. But it seems, from at least from the foreperson, that was one of the most standout things. Was like, oh hell no, like that was almost the final straw. Like, get the fuck out of here.
What
Hank
breaks
Brennan,
your trust, right?
Absolutely.
You already have this real lack of trust for this Canton Police Department, Mass State Police here. And then that, you know, now the prosecutor's doing what? Right here in front of the jury, and then going to call that a mistake when this is a large piece of evidence to the case that you've had for how many years? And you should know it inside and out, right? Front and back.
Exactly.
So for him to get up there and present it that way and then say it was a mistake was, no, it's like, no, man, sorry, that doesn't cut it.
It was either an egregious, like a ludicrous mistake, or you don't know your case, and what the fuck are you doing here, man? What do you, if you don't know? That's the key piece of evidence, right? Or the flip side of that is it was intentional, and
it was intentional, in my opinion, because
intentional.
It had to be, because he knows the holes are back there. He knows how those came about. He thought he could slide up in there and say otherwise, and it was going to work, until he was called out, right? Until the defense was like, wait. If they hadn't have done that, he'd have got away with that. If somebody hadn't been on top of that, because the defense didn't call it out right away. They did not object right away. So somebody caught that, whose job is to catch shit like that. Shout out to them. And so I think that it had a big impact, because it makes you wonder, you know, well, what else can I not trust here, right? We already have a lot of good reasons shown in this trial not to trust this law enforcement, and now the prosecutor. So
yeah, I want to come back to Hank Brennan and his tactics and dropping the ball. But then how did you feel about the attorneys in Karen's defense team? Did you have a favorite, and why?
Alessi's probably the favorite, because I like his little arguments, but I'm gonna go ahead and say it, Yannetti. Okay, y'all know me. It's gonna take a lot for me to even get to look at a guy twice, but he's so cute. He's so funny. His personality just makes him, you know. And I've enjoyed watching the Bob and what is his name? Alessi's first name,
David. Yes, David.
The Bob and David and Bob show that was joked about on one of the lives they were on. But I've enjoyed watching those guys go on the variety of shows they've been on, talking about the case and getting their strategy from their own mouths, right? Hearing the analysts talk about what they think they're doing or what they may or may not do and things like that is always great. But listening to them, it is really fun because you really get an insight into the way they handled the case and their thought process and how they fought their case. It's really good. Yeah.
So that's interesting. So Mr. Charisma, Alan Jackson, he did a fantastic job, but he wasn't your favorite. I know a lot of people, Alan Jackson.
Oh yeah, I like
Yes.
Alan Jackson. I kind of like take him for granted. He's there. He's for a reason, right? And bring it. And I love the way he questioned a lot of the witnesses, all the witnesses that he questioned. I was like, I was there for it, you know. And like I go over on Murder Church with Publicly Buzzed and watch Alan Jackson in the Phil Spector case,
Yes.
right? So so I enjoy his legal style. And it's so different from Alessi, right? They all three have very different styles. And the way they explain how they all brought their own things to the table and what their roles were within the case strategically is very cool to see. So yeah, I enjoyed Jackson too. All of them. They were all three equally good to me. Right.
So you've watched a lot of you've been a trial watcher for many years.
Yes.
How would you rank this team, the Karen Reid defense team, as a cohesive? Not just on their outcome, obviously that was a win, a resounding win for them and for Karen and for justice. But
Top
how would
three.
you rank this top three? Who were your other favorites?
Well, I don't know if they're favorites, but the
Oh,
way they handled their high profile cases and got their clients acquittals would be O.J. Simpson's team,
Yes.
Casey Anthony's team. And I hate to
Yes.
say that like that, but because I know don't get me wrong, I don't think the woman's innocent, but as far as defense teams,
You mean guilty? You don't think the woman's guilty?
yes. I don't. No, I think Casey Anthony was guilty. I
Oh
mean,
yeah. Oh no, I thought you
guilty
meant
of something.
Karen.
Yeah.
Yes.
No,
So
no.
OJ and so those two, I
those
agree.
defense teams, because they were up against a lot, right? And then the media, and not because social media wasn't around, but those first two cases I mentioned, but media was, and there was a lot of coverage on the cases, you know, as far as like Karen Reid style, but add in, you know, social media. But those two cases were so widely covered and televised, and people expected a guilty verdicts, and they got the opposite, right?
Right.
And if you just go back and evaluate the cases for what they were, you see why. And those teams worked together. They worked cohesively, like you said, like you were describing with this team. So all that has to come into, everybody has something to bring to the table with their form of expertise. And it was interesting watching Alessi talk about handling the experts, right? As how he ended up pretty much taking on the experts in the case and things like that. So, yeah.
Right. Excuse me. Now, so coming back to Hank Brennan, this is for the chat as well.
Mhm.
I would love for chat to drop in the chat one or as many of Hank's ball dropping. Wow, that didn't come out right. The number of times Hank and or his witnesses fucked up, like heavily fucked up. I want everybody to drop them in the chat. And Salty, can you think of some real some off on top of your, like, you know, off the top of your head, in terms of evidence, in terms of, you know, own goals?
So what was the question again? I'm sorry.
No, so Hank Brennan dropped a lot of balls.
Yeah.
He scored a lot of own goals, both in the way he questioned his witnesses and others, and evidentiary stuff. Can you think off the top of your head, Salty, of some of the most, other than the hoodie, which I guess was the penultimate fuck up?
Oh gosh, that man did so many. I expect attorneys to do shady things in court, right? They're attorneys, but he just seemed to go overboard with it all the time.
Right.
The way he seemed to try to protect the witnesses he called, which I get it, you know, but he seemed to really over prep his witnesses and go hard with that. But then when the defense witnesses come up, he wants to know, well, how much time did you spend with the defense team? When did you talk to them last? I'm like, well, they're witnesses. Of course, they prepped them the same way you did your witnesses, sir. And we saw how your witnesses came out here hot. You know, you're just mad because their prepping style was better. I don't know. I think he got thrown off a few times when he tried to go up against some witnesses and they held their own against him.
Amen.
You know, it kind of threw him off a little maybe, but he did a lot of things that it just didn't. He could come off a lot more likable if he wanted to. I think he just didn't want to. He wanted to be like a hard ass, I feel like.
I agree. Hey,
Yeah.
Sleuthie Goosie, good to see you.
Hey,
Now, so what about so let's go. We got let's just start from, remember those bits of extra evidence? There was the casing of the taillight in with the taillight pieces that Maureen Hartnett pulled
Yeah.
out of the bag. We had the shoe that was at Connor Keefe displayed in court, and then when Yuri pulled out the other shoe and the bag was mislabeled, and so which is the right shoe? We had the bits of taillight pieces. Was it in the bag with something else from Dr. Scotty Bello, or am I misremembering that? We had he entered the full. Who was it? Whose report was it? DeSogra's full report into evidence, which is normally not evidence. Normally reports are hearsay. Was it DeSogra's? Remember when
It was.
Yes. So he and like there's so many more. The X-rays that he did, whether Hank Brennan didn't provide them to Aperture or oops, missed it, forgot about them. Lol.
There, you know,
so many.
Their investigation was obviously botched from the get-go the second they broke out the leaf blower and the solo cups, right? And it just went downhill. Nothing ever got better. They never improved upon their skills. They're, you know, too many, like I've told you in the past when we discussed it in the past, all those how they would just show up at the home at Fairview and weeks over weeks and found, here we found more taillight. Oh, we found more taillight as the snow melts, whatever. I didn't like it when Trauma Buddy Captain rode by and saw a piece in the yard and decides to call up Higgins. Oh, or whoever he called. I just rode by and saw more taillight out there. You boys get on over here. No, sir, that's not cool. That was just there was way too much. The grid search and the way it wasn't done right. And there was a lack of any pinpointing where things were found. No coordinates taken, and all the crime scene photos. Just too many times they found random pieces and were like, oh, here. And Proctor was there how many times when they did find pieces? He was only not there like once or twice, I think. The rest of the time, I think he was there. It was not a cohesive investigation at all.
You're right. So the investigation was flawed from the beginning. I guess my point kind of is that, so I'm pretty sure I've said it enough times on social media, in the Discord and live on screen. I firmly believe that Hank Brennan threw the case. I still believe it.
I know. You and I, we kind of touched on that. I think maybe it was halfway through or you started to think that. I always get a good feel about halfway through. That's when I knew Casey Anthony was going to walk, was like halfway through, right? It was like, it was so obvious. And you started saying that and I was like, I'm thinking about what you're saying. I actually think I saw one or maybe one other person with that same theory on Twitter, similar to that. And I thought, well, I wonder if that's actually something he's doing, because he knows he's not going to get all the charges he wants, right? She's not going to be found guilty on murder, cold blood. I'm out to get this guy murder. I've never, like I said in the beginning from this case, I've never thought that was ever a thing anyway. If anything, accident. So maybe he knew he wasn't going to get the charges he wanted. So maybe he was trying to do that. What's your thought process behind that?
So my thought, I'm glad you asked. My thought process is that I don't believe the Commonwealth were ever actually necessarily going for a full conviction or even a partial conviction in the first trial. I think they would have been happy for an acquittal because, as has been discussed since the jurors have come out and we're all screaming from the rooftops like, the real killers need to be investigated. But clearly from a legal perspective, by all accounts, that's not really viable because the defense of said defendants in a second, a new trial against the real killers, their defense is going to be third-party culprit Karen Read and reasonable doubt. You've already prosecuted someone else twice for this crime, so it's not likely that there's ever going to be any further arrests made in the actual murder of John O'Keefe. So,
Yeah.
I believe that in the first trial, the Commonwealth would have been happy with an acquittal, and then they could have said the jury got it wrong. Oh well, and they're saying that now, aren't they?
I was
Oh
about to
well,
say,
the
they're saying,
jury got it wrong.
yeah,
So
those
then
darn jurors.
mistrial happens, right? Mistrial,
Mm,
Lord, God forbid. Then hubris starts to kick in, and that's why I put hubris as the trailer at the start. If people got in early and heard
yeah.
that song, one of my songs, hubris, through this, so hubris got involved, and so then they have to dig in because they have that sunk cost fallacy where once they've invested all this public, expressions of Karen's guilt, lol, oops, and all that money already, they have to double down, so they put more money in. But again, I don't think the Commonwealth necessarily wanted to put Karen in jail forever, or even necessarily at all. I think it would have been win-win for the Commonwealth if Karen had walked. The process is the punishment, so her punishment comes from the drawn out, the destruction of her life, right? Her financially, socially, career-wise. Ostensibly, one could think Karen is destroyed. I don't think she is, but I mean, imagine how much trauma Karen is. It will be a lifetime. She will be changed forever, right? So when you add up all the things that Hank Brennan, he's a good attorney, right? I don't like his style, but most of the law tubers have said, including Alessi and Yannetti, he's a
Yeah.
very good attorney.
Yeah,
He
they
might not be that your cup of tea, right? He might not be the kind of guy you like. Me, hi, it's me. Don't love him at all. Hate him. Loathe. But so for a decent attorney who knows what he's doing, to have fucked up so many times, both in the questioning of his own witnesses, the evidence he brought in, the shoddy shit that was getting pulled out of evidence bags. Oh, the X-rays. To me, the X-rays and the hoodie are the main things. I'm like, nah, he had to have known. He had to have known. So that's
Yeah.
my theory.
Yeah, there was a lot that they, okay, going to that, there things they should have known, they had to have known, things like that, and then you see well, maybe it's in the report, or no, was a report taken, or can I refer to the report? All these different things. There was so much bad investigation across the board, and nothing surprised me the more I heard that came out about how bad it was, and relying on this and not relying on that and doing this. It didn't surprise me because I saw how bad it was already, and I really just didn't expect more of them after that point, and you take a look at all the investigation that how just the evidence collection alone, how poor it was, how you didn't seem to want to trust it, how the explanation of the broken taillight, that whole thing to me could have been a fiasco, but I think the jury followed it, right? And I think the prosecution inadvertently helped explain that this probably wasn't the way we're saying it, especially whenever the video from John O'Keefe's home was introduced, when she hits his vehicle, and then you bring on the detective from Dighton or Denham, or wherever Karen was from.
Dighton. Karen's from Mansfield. Dighton was where her parents lived and where Officer Barros,
right,
Sergeant Barros, sorry.
Yes, and we watched his video, or that video clip of him doing that interview here last night. And I'd watched it on my day, but looking at his testimony, he there was no reason not to believe that officer, what he saw when they came to take the SUV from Karen's family's home, to load it onto the tow truck and drive it back to Canton. And I believe him. If he says he didn't see this shattered, knocked out taillight, then I didn't feel like I couldn't believe him the way I couldn't believe a lot of the state's witnesses, right? There was only a few state witnesses I believed. Ryan Nagel. I mean, I didn't see a reason why he was going to lie. And like I said, once him and his friends, him and Heather, saw John O'Keefe and Karen at the intersection there when they flashed the lights, Ricky did, and Karen turns, Heather sees John and Karen, then he disappears into thin air and nobody ever sees the man again until he's found in the snow. And that's
Right.
just, and I couldn't get past Nagel saying no Jeep, no vehicle between us and Karen's SUV, but you got Jen over there straight out the die in her tomahawk can, straight out the die, right there, parked. Like, lady, what's parked out there, Jen? Because we're not seeing, they're not seeing what you saw, hun.
Yeah. The Jeep's always been curious to us. It's interesting that you, ostensibly, like by way of Ryan Nagel's testimony, and he has no skin in the game. I'm not sure if we've spoken about this, but actually, Juliana Nagel she was at the party, obviously, his sister, at the baby Brian's birthday celebration, and Ryan Nagel was out the front of D&E Pizza the day that Jill Daniels assaulted and accosted Aiden and Meredith, Turtle Boy and his girlfriend. And Ryan Nagel was there also. He very much has skin in the game. He is inextricably woven with those people. So I have even more respect for him, given that he has those very strong connections with the key players, the McAlberts. Wild.
Right. And he didn't comply and say, well, there was a Jeep out there. Okay. Even if he did, then you put a Jeep there. And so then the prosecution wants us to believe that once Nagel left the scene and pulled away, then that's when Karen backed up and hit John. Well, there would have been a Jeep behind her and she would have slammed into the Jeep. And she did.
So I had very good information. Mark put up in the chat just a moment ago that the Jeep was at the hillside, and I have on very good authority, with only one intermediary in between me telling it, and that the Jeep was parked at the hillside all night. That it was never at 34 Fairview. There's a man passed out in the snow. And so that weird thing about the Jeep is all because Higgins' Jeep was at the hillside all night, that he then it seems took baby Brian's car, whatever car baby Brian, the donut car, the donut and coffee car, in the nighttime. It's suggested that he took Colin Albert home. And then drove that car to where his Jeep was parked at the Hilly, and then took his Jeep to the car park at Kenton Pier at whatever time. And that's that.
Good Lord, that's a lot of Higgins. What are you doing out there, dude? I mean, that's a lot
that's why there's a gap. So Higgins' testimony was in the first trial was that he left the 34 Fairview at about 12:30, but then he doesn't arrive at the Canton PD until whatever time it was, about 45 minutes later. And if Colin also left, and we can pretty much say that the screenshots that were provided from Ali McCabe, that she picked up Colin, aren't true, that she was probably just driving around doing other shit. Who knows what townies do on a Friday night in Canton. But and that's where that missing time is, and that's why there's all this haziness and these sort of conflicting stories about the Jeep and Colin being in the house or not, and when Higgins left and why he left, and when he got to, between that, that gap in time when he got to the Canton PD. So and Heather Maxim's Sarah Levinson's affidavit, which we went through the last time Tony P and Colours were on with me, not last night, but a few weeks ago. Sarah Levinson's affidavit states very clearly that Higgy and Brian Albert and Nicole Albert came back from being at the bar in one car and went back out again to the Waterfall, the CF McCarthy's, and then the Waterfall, or wherever they went, all the bars, together in one car. Higgins' Jeep was never at 34 Fairview, and Sarah Levinson's affidavit attests to that. So interesting. But all that to say, Ryan Nagel, considering his strong townie connections to the McAlberts, it's kind of and he's not. He doesn't seem like he seems like a bit of a fucking douche in IRL. But the fact that he seemed to give really credible testimony both times, it didn't change. It's a credit to him.
Yeah.
I think.
Yeah. And I know that, he and Heather, when they passed by Karen's SUV, so they only saw one person inside, and they tried to, the prosecution's like, oh, the dome light's on, dome light's off. What can you see? If I'm looking, I can see silhouette. I know what it look. I'm a grown
There's a street
person,
light
you
too.
know,
Yeah, exactly.
I know what it looks like outside at night. I can pretty much gauge what, and sometimes you may have a difficult time seeing through certain window tints and things of that nature. But I think I would have noticed if there was two people inside the vehicle, you know, there was just a lot of, because I was looking for evidence, right? So I'm trying to pay attention to the details of people who saw what they saw. What are they saying they saw, and what did they not see? And I'm taking note of those things when those particular witnesses were testifying. And I got all that down. And then when they moved into the data and the times that this is happening and the car was doing this and John's phone was doing this and all these things, I'm writing all these times down as well. And I'm focusing on what that, the evidence like that. And the evidence just wasn't lining up. It wasn't making sense. And sometimes it felt like some of the expert witnesses would cancel each other out. Do you know what I mean? They just like contradictory, and they would cancel one another out. And I just felt like when you are going to present a case as a prosecutor and you need to get some hard evidence, and you know you got to get some testing involved and experts involved, you want to go get the best there is, not the worst of the
Absolutely.
worst. You know, you go get some, I hate to say it this way, but insurance guys whose job is to say, well, we're not going to pay you as much insurance because this and this and this factored into this wreck. You know, they're going to recreate a wreck, right? Or an accident. You brought that kind of guy in here as an expert. And I don't doubt that he can't do his job as far as reconstructing a car accident on the street to see who's at fault and things of that nature. But this was next level. It needed more, and they didn't bring it, in my opinion. Their test was cheesy, you know, it was too childish.
Agreed. So even if even tying that back, I mean, I know that witnesses are, you know, they're hired guns, obviously, and the defense team was blessed with having irrefutable evidence that expert witnesses, the best in the country, were more than happy to have their testimony, you know, on the stand, because they believed in what they were saying. And that goes back to, again, you know, Hank Brennan or the Commonwealth engaging Aperture in to be their expert witnesses is for me, that ties back into my theory about Hank Brennan throwing the case. Like, but then again, I mean, maybe no one else would touch it with a 10-foot pole, and Aperture were like, "Yep, we're in $400,000. Yes, we'll say whatever you want," and blue paint is even included.
Yeah, I mean, I just felt like they could have. They knew they. I don't know. I guess they didn't know they needed better experts, you know, or maybe they underestimated how well ARCA was going to be able to present their.
They knew. That's the thing, Salty. They
should have
knew.
known.
They knew.
Yeah, they should have known. I'm sure they had reports from ARCA given to them as well, or maybe I don't know. I don't know how that all worked out. So you know, they knew what they were up against, but still chose to go down the road they went, and that's fine. That's great. But when you put the experts on the witness stand, even the Welcher who did the experiment for the prosecution, he was such an ass, right? So arrogant. I'm the best in the country. I make blue paint theories, you know, and I'm gonna slowly roll into this car and show you guys in slow-mo how this could have happened, you know. And then they wanted it was sad almost to watch, right? It didn't show me that a car hit John O'Keefe. It didn't prove nothing to me. Just like ARCA didn't prove that it did, or okay, ARCA couldn't prove what happened to him, but they were more believable that a car didn't hit John O'Keefe and cause the injuries. And I couple that along with the medical examiner's reports, Dr.
Laposata. I know, my brain also. Laposata.
I keep forgetting her name. I don't know. It's
say it fast.
Lapa. She's Lapa something.
If you think about it, it stalls in your brain. You just say it quickly, like with confidence.
Yeah, Laposata, is that it? So taking in the experts, when I'm looking at what the experiment ARCA did, and I'm factoring in what the those experts, the medical experts, said about the injuries, and couple that with Arca, it makes sense. And I always wondered, why wasn't there more injuries from the waist down on John O'Keefe? Especially to
Zero
the
from the
legs, the
neck
upper,
down.
the
Yep.
upper thigh, at least if the bumper is going to hit his thigh, if he's got tail light smacking into his arm and causing that, where's that bumper hitting? Right into his thigh. We're not getting a big bruise there. We're not getting any fractures. There was too much unexplained as far as the types of injuries. Even when they wanted to continue to say he falling back on the hard frozen ground, I'm like, or a hard floor. It could have been either or, right? I have no doubt that, yes, that was caused by smacking backwards into a hard surface, but it could have been a hard floor just as well. And then you take the front, the injuries to the front of the face. I got to factor in, where's John O'Keefe standing when she does hit him, if she hit him? Where's he standing? How's he facing that vehicle? To get, like, does she smack face first into him? He's facing the car. None of it just didn't add up. The injuries, testimony from the medical experts, and with the vehicle itself, they just didn't line up perfectly enough for me.
Yes. Now, I don't. It's maybe premature, but Holly Street. Hi, Holly. Good to see you. She said she's late, but she just wants to know, Salty, are you free Karen Reed, or Karen Reed is innocent now? Yes.
Yes. Free Karen Reed, because like I said, I even was willing to say she could have hit him, but accident. But they failed to even prove that happened. And after 2 trials and having your whole life put on display the way hers was put on display, right? It was, she went out and freely talked to the Datelines and all the things, whatever. I'm not going to hold that against her. But the text messages, her and Higgins and her and John, and just all of her personal lives out there. So and then to see how hard they went after her twice. Even if she did hit him and they thought it was, well, why didn't they just say, well, this woman must have accidentally hit him. She drove away because she was drinking and she didn't know it. Boy, they really jumped to, oh my God, she's a vicious murderer. Look what she did to him, really fast. Like, it was almost personal.
Mm-hmm.
So when Higgins like, y'all right, that bitch, she could have hit him, that jealous, I could just hear Higgins in the background ranting. What worked them all up to hate Karen so bad? Let's get her for murder. It was never an accident, but they failed miserably to prove that it was even an accident.
I mean, xenophobia and misogyny are very strong. The fear of the other and an internalized hatred of women goes a long, long way in society, doesn't it? When you're that way inclined. And also, just to wrap up that, Holly, I can safely say that when the verdict came in, Salty sent me a DM that was just hashtag all caps, free Karen Reed.
It was. I hit her up immediately. And that's funny seeing Sleuthie here, because literally first trial, the only place I got updates was through Sleuthie's tweets. I didn't look at anybody else's. I just didn't bother.
Well, that's it.
Yeah,
exactly. Why would you bother? Go to the best. Go to the top of the range. Absolutely.
I might get her start, but I'm going to get some facts out of there as well, and I'm going to be able to take what I see and like, okay. But yeah, that's how, because I followed it loosely on social media, and then I decided to watch the trial, and this time, and I was like, this whole thing this is what everybody else. No wonder everybody's in an uproar from the first time with this shit show, right?
So I used to moderate, this is a sidebar, but it's Sleuthie Goosie related. I used to moderate for at the time, I mean, there's a few people in chat now. I know Ruthie's one of them, but a channel by a woman named Roberta Glass, who had never commented whatsoever on anything to do with Karen Reed. I knew about the case prior to the first trial, but Roberta had never. And she came out, Roberta, I was a mod for the channel. She came out and I think it was the one of the very last pre-trial motions hearings before the first trial, and she was mocking Karen. She was mocking the defense, and I was horrified. I know a fair few of my good friends. Hi, Kurt, by the way. A few of my friends were YouTube friends were equally horrified, because we knew as much as anyone knew before the first trial with all, what the defense had put out. And so I sent Roberta Sleuthie Goosie's, at that time, Google Docs Drive, her spreadsheet of everything, in the hopes of giving Roberta some less cherry-picked just data, facts, things that were known for sure, not speculation, not just based on vibes, but actual,
You can't get
hardline
any better
stuff.
than a Sleuthie Goosie
You
spreadsheet.
can't.
Come on, man.
And she was very, no, I do know, yes, Sleuthie, I know who she is. She's not Critical K. I've seen her, some of her older content, she actually shows her face on screen. She's a New Yorker. She used to work for Oprah Winfrey. She actually has a very interesting take, a very balanced, or it seemed to be balanced take on a lot of. She's big on innocence project fraud, right? So people who are capitalizing on, and that was her take on Karen Read. That this was a pre-trial innocence fraud on the Commonwealth. So anyway, all that to say, even with Sleuthie's great, amazing documents, 18 months ago, Roberta Glass was having none of it. And some troll hit me up just the other day on Twitter. Are you going to tell everybody about your association with Roberta Glass? I'm like, yeah, sure. I loved Roberta Glass before Karen Read, and we all didn't walk, so many of us, when she did her very first coverage of that pre-trial motions hearing. It was like, this is disgusting. This woman is vile. I'm out. So, no, she's a real person.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I just thought that was an interesting thing. Now that's actually a good segue. I think we have, I don't know. Do you watch Turtle Boy ever, Salty?
Okay. So here's the thing. I would see things tweeted first trial. And then, like I said, I mostly paid attention to what Sleuthie was saying, because I knew there was just a lot going on. I didn't watch Turtle Boy until for the first time just the other day. He interviewed somebody that I watched, and then I watched a second
Paula,
show that he did. He did Paula. Yeah, it was an interview with Paula, and then I watched one more, and I was kind of surprised it wasn't like all aggressive and crazy like I'd heard. I was like, okay, maybe there's times he can be, because hell, we all can be. Y'all know I can be crazy aggressive, especially
I can too, Salty.
I'm talking about Stefan Stearns and shit. It's coming, but yeah. I mean, I was like, okay, all right, but yeah, I wasn't. I mean, I only learned who he was because of Karen Read and what was going around Twitter. But I do
now. So
it was just a lot. Because there seemed to be a lot going on there, so I stayed away from it.
I did. That's exactly. I did the same thing. I resisted, and I bought into the tropes that mainstream media and sort of that were putting out about Aiden Turtle Boy before the trial.
I didn't even see any of that. I'm
the first. Well, because Roberta. Yeah, Roberta Glass sort of like mocked him as well. So anyway, so the first I ever looked into Aiden Turtle Boy was when they mentioned him in court the last time. I'm like, God damn it! Okay, fine, I'm going. and I've never looked back. I'm an absolute turtle rider, turtle-roo. I love that man, but I truly love him, metaphorically speaking.
I mean, I've got respect for him. He, come out and shine the light on what he thought was injustice and put a lot of eyes on it, and sometimes that's what it takes, right? Without that, things get pushed under the rug too easily, especially when a town or a department thinks no one's looking, no one's going to care, especially about this woman, right? She's a nobody, right? Who cares if she's got a career and a little money in the bank? They still, in their minds, remember how Proctor talked about her to begin with? They think women are she's just another bitch, right? So a lot of things happen in a lot of towns like that all the time. Unfortunately, we see a lot of bad investigations and bad things go down in trials. It doesn't mean they're all that way, of course, but yeah, it's just, and that whole town, I've watched a couple of things, because you got to consider when you are in a town like that and these cases pop off and there's questions about law enforcement and investigations and things that have gone on here. It divides the town, right? We need Turtle for the Rick Allen case. Sleuthie, would that even help at this point, hun? Would people like you, me, Joe, Angela, all the people in the community over there in Delphi, we have shouted it from the rooftops, and we still felt like we fell short of bringing enough eyes on that case. So maybe you're right. Hit him up, girlfriend. Get him on the Rick Allen case. So we can get but yeah, sometimes that's what it takes, right? Is a lot of eyes and attention. Then they have no choice but to react, because a lot of it does get swept under the rug and nobody ever knows about these small town things that happen.
Exactly. Now, the reason why I asked is because just the other night, someone had sent Turtle Boy Aiden a clip of this. I'm going to say cunt, who decided to get on her soapbox, knowing nothing about the Karen Reed case post acquittal, and say some wild shit about Karen Reed. Disgusting stuff. It makes me wonder whether
Oh
this
Lord.
woman is not a paid McAlbert troll. So we haven't actually, I don't think we've actually got the,
Well,
the Aiden clip. Yes, exactly, Miss What the Fuck. We don't have the Aiden clip. So if you want to watch the rant that Aiden did about this same woman, it goes on for quite some time, and 1,000,000,000% would get me demonetized with the language he used. And I was walking around Aldi roaring with laughter at Aiden losing his mind about this piece of shit. Whoever her name's Maureen Callahan. She was, I don't know if she's the host of a YouTube show called The Nerve, but she was certainly there spouting off. So this is actually from Bobby, what's his name? Bobby Solicito, I think. He's a TikToker, and he's on he posts his stuff onto Twitter, onto X as well. So this is his take on what she says. This is the lowlights / highlights of what this woman says about Karen, and Bobby putting his commentary with less expletives than Aiden did. So have a listen, Salty.
hey, before we get started,
Oh, yeah.
can I do a little shout out to Sleuthie? She has
Yes.
a comment here about getting the transcripts soon. She's talking about the
Oh,
Delphi
yes.
transcripts. Sleuthie and Criminality, they've done shout out, you guys, you deserve it. A big high five to you girls. They have raised enough money to get the transcripts from the Delphi trial. It wasn't
Amazing.
cheap. It's several $1,000s, and they had a couple of live fundraising type
I
situations happen
saw.
and got the money. So they'll be getting those, and I think they're going to be planning on presenting those when they get them. I know they will, so y'all stay tuned for that. So I just wanted to get that shout out because
Yeah,
that's
yes,
really
thank you.
important.
I saw someone in the chat say Richard Allen is bridge guy. I'm who knows, but I will die on a hill that I'm sure many of my friends will also die on in this chat and this community, that Richard Allen, in my opinion, is factually innocent. He may well be bridge guy. I don't know. I think it actually could be Ron Logan, but whatever.
Sleuthie,
yeah.
count me in. I'll DM you, girlfriend. Count me in. They're going to do a
Me too.
live read. They did this before with some hearings that Judge Gull had, and they got transcripts and they did a read, and they all took parts, right? You play a different role. So yeah, they're going to do the same thing again with the transcripts from the Delphi trial. So there we go. We're in, Sleuthie. We volunteer if you'll have us. Yeah, great.
Anyway, so yes, no, I appreciate. Thank you for shouting that out. And basically, before we move on from the Delphi little segue, if you can believe, and I'm pretty sure we all do, that Karen Reed was framed, railroaded, and persecuted by the state, by the Commonwealth, then why is it such a stretch to think that Richard Allen also, right? It's in fact, Judge Gull is Beverly Cannoni on just the most hectic steroids you can possibly imagine.
The most
she's
hectic.
vile.
Yeah, she's way worse.
Nick McClelland is a dog, is a snake, and the prosecutor, in my opinion, and Richard Allen didn't have the benefit of being out on bail. He was incarcerated and absolutely abhorrently treated. So
yes, he was arrested. Richard Allen was arrested 1 month before Brian Kohberger in the same year.
Yep.
Richard Allen was sent to a state prison 3 days later and never saw the light of day until he came out for a hearing dressed in prison orange, dirty, and shackled. Brian Kohberger was held in a county jail, given vegan meals, escorted to court in a suit and tie for hearings. You know, huge difference there. And a lot of shady evidence in that case as well. So it's a good thing that something now with Delphi to report on with these tangible transcripts finally coming, hopefully. So, yeah.
And also, Joe Schmo, you know I say things differently.
What you say differently?
I said expletives. You said guys say expletives. And I also say macrame chameleon. So there's that. There's
Hey,
no surprise
you know
whatsoever
what?
that I don't pronounce things.
You do you, and I'm gonna do me, right? When I'm reading a document, a 30-pager on my channel, then I go over and I watch Lawyer read the same damn document, and he's tripping up on the same words I tripped up on. I'm like, okay, I've made it. Fuck it, I don't care.
Salty. I was cracking up when you were reading through the most recent Koberger, the motion to denied, and you kept saying probative. Well, I say probative, and I was cracking up to myself. Going, you were going probative, and I was like, I was at work, just like chuckling to myself. And
y'all got to
no
remember, I'm
shade at
down
all.
here below the Mason-Dixon line. That Southern twang is going to come out, and I'm going to say shit different.
Amen. Anyway, so we'll say our words how we want to say them, and
That's
I'm
right.
sure chat will always like pull us up on it. But there's that. All right,
That's
let's watch
okay.
this thing from
That's
this
okay.
no neck ho Maureen Callahan.
Okay, let's
go.
do it. Let's get back on
talk
track.
about this Karen Reed trial.
This is one of the most insufferable and dishonest takes on the Karen Reed trial I've heard thus far. I'm going to do my best not to crash out here, but I'm about to absolutely cook this woman.
I just think that there was an instinctual gut reaction I had towards Karen Reed. I think I read her immediately as one of the darker people that we have ever encountered.
Translation. So you didn't like how she looked, and you didn't like how she talked, and you drew your conclusion. And even in your analysis, it's not about the details of the case. It's about who you think she is.
I knew very little about this case. I knew that her boyfriend had been a police officer in Massachusetts. They dated for 2 years. His body was found in a snowbank. He claimed, and still does, that there was this wild conspiracy involving like the entire police force.
No, Maureen, it wasn't the entire police force. The evidence pointed to another Boston cop, his immediate family, and some of their close family friends, as well as several other local police officers of which they had long-term family connections. If you actually looked into this case, you'd see that a lot of the investigation was simply not done, aka looking the other way, by immediately blaming Karen, not doing the necessary interviews or detective work, and ultimately protecting one of their own for a powerful and influential local family.
Who had like tortured and killed him and left him out to die in the snow. And that never really made sense to me.
That never made sense to you because nobody ever suggested that he was tortured. The evidence in the form of lacerations to John's face, as well as the dog bites on his arm, which were verified by 2 forensic pathologists, as well as the absence of any injuries consistent with a motor vehicle strike, which was the prosecution's theory of the case, led people to believe that there was a physical altercation inside the house, especially considering that there was eyewitness testimony that Karen was seen in front of the house in the car by herself with nobody on the lawn.
But that she, this poor but glamorous, camera ready and media friendly woman named Karen Reed. I mean, it is time for her close up. Okay. That's what was putting me off.
There it is. You said the quiet part out loud. Typical mean girl stuff. You didn't like that. You thought she was prettier than you. Why don't you just say it?
The things that really like reflect the sober seriousness of this crime. You know, here she is outside the courthouse. A V for victory. Look at me. I'm in a tailored suit. I'm blowing kisses to my fans.
Oh my God. She's an adult with a tailored suit? That symbol that Karen and her legal defense team were making, it doesn't mean V for victory. It's the American Sign Language symbol for I love you. And since part of the court's direction was to not make noise in front of the courthouse, it was a way to acknowledge her supporters, not her fans. Because without not only the financial but emotional support of those supporters, the average citizen would have never been able to financially afford going to trial twice. She's saying thank you. Because she, unlike all the investigators in this case, actually wanted justice for John O'Keefe. But instead of following the evidence, people like you come in with half the story and talk about what she looks like and her suit. You should be ashamed of yourself.
Without these amazing supporters who have supported me and my team for almost 4 years.
You would think this was the Academy Awards. You would think this was the Oscars.
No, you would think that a human being who lost her boyfriend and her extended family in the form of his kids who she helped to raise just narrowly escaped with her life after fighting for it for 4 years against the Commonwealth of Massachusetts and a corrupt police force, who made it by the skin of her teeth thanks to hundreds of thousands of supporters around the world that cared about her trial. And no thanks to corrupt local entrenched interests and the media, only to have people like you come in and weigh in like she actually wanted this so that she could be an actress, so she could be famous.
Listen, sister, I think you killed that guy. I have reason to believe you killed that guy, as do many other people.
Oh yeah, what evidence do you have to prove that, Maureen? Go ahead, point to the evidence, because we'd love to hear it. Because 12 jurors of her peers that sat in that courtroom for months and listened to every single detail completely disagree with you.
And she's out here thanking her supporters and those poor saps, those idiots who donated their hard-won money to this piece of shit.
I'm going to take the high road on this one, but I would bet that hundreds of thousands of people around the world are disgusted by what you're saying. So, good job.
Don't weep for her, okay? You should not be giving her don't give her your money. Don't do it.
Too late, lady. We already did, and she won.
I'm going to quote you something that directly came out of her mouth, and it's such a vulgar piece of obscenity. Nobody's fought harder for James O'Keefe than I have.
You're so clueless about this case, you don't even know his name. His name is John O'Keefe. James O'Keefe is an investigative reporter. John O'Keefe is the person that all of us actually cared about.
Yeah, I mean, she's an actress, really. She's a dramatic actress who just never could have made it any other way. Look at what she's wearing. She's dressed in powder blue. What does she dress in? Powder blue. She's a martyr. She's the Virgin Mary. However this verdict was going to go, she was telling us one thing, that she is a saint. She is not a sinner.
Again with the close. No, Karen Reed was more than forthright about who she is. And her message and her story, which is all she sought to tell, was very simple. I did not do this. And I got the evidence to prove it.
So she or someone on her team reached out to an online blogger, a grown man who goes by the name, I could not make this up, Turtle Boy.
Wrong again. What a surprise. Aiden Carney was a local high school teacher turned journalist, and he started a blog called the Turtle Boy Daily News. The Turtle Boy is a nickname for a local fountain and sculpture of a boy and a turtle, a nickname suggested to him by one of his students. The Turtle Boy branding is an homage to that sculpture in his local area, of which he covers with his journalism. Neither Karen Reed nor anyone from her team ever reached out to Aiden, but one of his friends and a local police officer highlighted the story to him because he said that something didn't feel right. Aiden, aka Dr. Turtleboy, looked into the court documents and immediately recognized that his suspicions were true. Something was really off about this case. And through his compelling, consistent, and relentless journalism and seeking of the truth, he was instrumental in getting more eyeballs and ultimately supporters on this news story so that Karen could fight.
Reed's fans, who are her cult members, really.
I think you mispronounced people who care about the truth.
So in short, I think, just my opinion, that Karen Reed is guilty, that she exhibits what is known in psychology as the dark triad. This is the cluster of narcissism, Machiavellianism, and psychopathy, and that she is evil. I think she's pure evil.
Good for you, Maureen. Luckily, nobody cares what you think about this case. How did you get so many followers? Nothing says law and crime analysis like a bunch of ad hominem attacks talking about the clothes that she's wearing, forgetting the victim's name, and providing no evidence or theory as to why you believe this. Just going, well, she's evil and she wants to be famous. Absolutely pathetic. And I hope whoever follows you sees how disgusting and clownish this take was and chooses to unfollow. Thanks for your input, though. Great job.
Oh, goodness. It takes all kinds of kinds.
Right?
You'll know that there's some people behind some of these devices that aren't playing with full decks, right?
I mean, projection much? She's
yeah. Oh, God.
I'm getting their mean girl, jealous bitch.
Yeah.
Dark Triad vibes. Gotta say.
I don't know if I saw that guy on Twitter or just scrolling through my YouTube one night, but I saw a couple of his little videos like that. And I thought, where's this guy been? How come I'm just stumbling across him, But it was so cracked me up because he was spitting out the facts, right?
Yes. Like on full speed. Speed. Yeah, Twitter. 100% Twitter. That's
I was like, damn, he's got he's right. The same point, the same points. But it just goes, it's so crazy because I've always said this. You can show the same two people. You can show two people the same exact evidence and they can walk away with a different interpretation. And my idea of reasonable and your idea of reasonable might be really different. That's why we have more than one juror, and I thought I even asked little guy that on Twitter, you realize Paula's not the only juror, right? Because he was coming so hard at Paula. When I say little guy, I mean that little guy on Twitter. I don't like saying his name. He's a little guy. Yeah, I mean, just coming. It's crazy because 12 people, and I've saw multiple jurors come out and talk now. I think 3 that I've seen, and they all hit some of the same people. Yeah.
There's 4. There's one who came with seems to be. Yeah, there's one who's in with with a backlit and you can't.
Yes,
just her silhouette.
I saw that as well. So with the one, trial channel, you got it. That's who I'm talking about. Little. Of course, that's who I'm talking about when I say little man. Go sit down, little man. Which is fucking clown. I can't even take him seriously. I don't know what he's doing.
Actually, can I just mention, do you know about Plevin? Do you know about Plevin, Yellow Cottage Tales? You must know about him as well, right?
Yeah.
So he actually came out with a very sensible comment today. I think it was today. I saw it today, where he said, because Grant Smith Ellis, fuck my life. Grant Smith Ellis is still just get off whatever drugs you're on, sir. calm your fucking screen down. There's way too much shit going on that screen, and calm your, like, slow your roll. But so he's been trying to make this link repeatedly about Paula Prado, her father-in-law, and his connection to some, I don't read it, I just scroll through and say, Grant, get some help. But then Plevin comes up with his comment was something along the lines of, there's no link here between this and the Karen Reed trial. It was like, I clicked like. I was like, I think I had him blocked, and I unblocked him to see whether he ever would come at me, because we had a roast stream about Plevin did a mock closing arguments at the end of the last trial, but before the defense had done their case in chief. It was just ludicrous. And so we did a live reacts on that, and we had a Plevin song. It's hilarious. I didn't write it. But he never did clap back at me. So anyway, I thought that was interesting. And someone, people were saying, well, maybe you're coming around, Plevin. Maybe he's realized that dying on that anti-Karen Reed hill is a terrifyingly lonely and ludicrous place.
I mean, I don't want to ever come at a case based on what the masses are telling me to think. Like, if I don't go do my own research or read a document myself, or if I go into a live who somebody's really deep diving a case and doing just that, that's cool as shit. If me just to go take some people's words for this or that, or maybe I'll listen to you in your opinion, and then maybe I'll figure out if mine matches it. But I don't want to ever go into it, well, I've heard this, this, and this, right? That's like with Karen Reed. I don't want to go into a second trial and say, well, I've heard this, I saw this, this, and this on Twitter, but I'm not going to go with, I've heard all this, I've made up my mind. I went into it open-minded. I went into Delphi open-minded. Even though I had questions from the get-go because of just the nature of that case and a lot of other things. So I had questions from the beginning. Karen Reed, my only question was, well, did that lady really hit that guy or not? What's all these people doing over here? They're all freaking out. There's a lot. And then the Koberger case, right? We don't know what's going on there. There's a lot of media. I may feel like they have a lot of probable cause, but I'm willing to walk into that courtroom completely open-minded to look at the evidence, right? And listening to the jurors, I feel like they were listening to the evidence. They weren't just listening to what was being said outside of all of that. Because they touched on the points that and now that they're speaking on the things that made a difference to them, people on social media are going after them for saying, oh, they're stupid, they bought this, they listened to this, they believed it. Well, we feel like you aren't listening or being open-minded either, because you can't see that this is a real possibility, that this didn't happen this way, right?
I think the fact people call out in the past, and still now, even more so now, I think, free Karen readers for all jumping on a bandwagon. I'm using my own words that, but basically that we're all part of a cult and that we all follow blindly. But I would push back on that, and people do, and to say, no, like, you're a perfect example of that. You didn't do any of that, but you've come to the same conclusions as we all have, maybe with nuances in terms of what we think might have actually happened, but it certainly wasn't anything that the Commonwealth proposed. So it's those kind of logical fallacy bullshit things that these idiots come at people with. Like, no, you are all the ones that are refusing to look at the actual facts. The reason why there's so many, the majority, the loud majority of people are actually free Karen Reed or believe that this didn't happen the way the Commonwealth says, is because that's what the facts show. When you actually look at them, it's not that we're all following blindly, quite the opposite. We've all opened our eyes. I mean, I'm sure there's some people who just jumped on, but they're on the right side of the train, so that just frustrates me.
I think there's people out there when it first became a story, like, DePetro, I don't know when he came into the game. I honestly I didn't even realize that little man had a social media presence other than court TV until a few weeks ago, right? Shit, you not. I was like, oh wow, really? Who the hell would want to listen to that? But okay. It's just that So when it happens, so they automatically believe, okay, yeah, they got the right person because the police say they got them. We all get accused sometimes of, oh, they just believe it because the police tell them that, right? I hear it. People think that I'm just 100% Koberger's guilty. Oh, you just believe what the cops tell you. It's not that. Trust me. If I can come at you and tell you all the
No.
problems in Delphi and all of the problems in Karen Reed, I could list you all the problems in Idaho 4 if I saw them.
Yes.
Right. And I
And
can tell you what the problems there that I see when I see them. But so I don't know why people can't just be open like that across the board. I don't know. Thank good
yeah,
most people can be, apparently, because the jurors saw the same things. That maybe that's the thing with more all this social media coverage now, and people who do follow true crime like us, we follow other cases and we see all these things that can happen and different types of evidence that all gets these things presented. It's just maybe some people who are just coming into to true crime or whatever with Karen Reed case, they don't know. I don't know what it is, if they don't
well,
know. Do you know what I'm
that's a
saying?
really yes, I do. That's a really good point. I think a lot of Karen Reed supporters aren't necessarily true crime people. Particularly last year, they were jumping on the outrage, rightly so, jumping on the
Right.
outrage of what their gut and their critical thinking skills were telling them is that this is a frame job, this is bullshit, this is corruption, this is tunnel vision, whatever, whichever varying degree of nefariousness you want to put on it. I'll go the full whole hog. But a lot of people, again, particularly last year, seem to not be necessarily people who watch trials. And I think it's had a fantastic outcome that a lot more people understand the law better because of all this, and that can only help you all in your country, like in society. But I feel like these were more people who were like, for me, I was a true crime person and a trial watcher, so it was and the outrage of the corruption and the frame job. But I think it's been a really interesting arc to watch people. Even like, again, back to Turtle Boy, back to Aiden, he's not a true crime guy. He's more of a corruption, calling out bullshit kind of a guy, or he was.
Yeah,
And now
wasn't he
he
like
has
more corruption in politics,
yes,
things like that or something? Yeah.
Yes. I mean, and he's been doing that for over a decade. So, and now he's even sort of thinking about and paying more. I mean, he was talking about the Adelson case the other day. He had a few things wrong, but I find that really interesting as well, to see people broadening their horizons for whatever reason they came into this case. What we're all leaving with is a much greater understanding and having learned a lot and having our eyes opened, I think, right?
Having our eyes opened is a lot of it. I think, and so how much of society has their eyes open, right? And are willing to, who aren't
Not
in
enough.
like total true crime, right? But they are not blind to what's happening in society at times, especially with law enforcement. So but I don't think they just totally distrust them across the board, right? Because I don't want to wake up in that space where I wake up and go, oh, whoever the cops catch today, they're going to be innocent because cops are bad. I'm not ready to say that. I have family in law enforcement. I'm not going to say it, right? Because I know better. But also, on the flip side of that, I'm in small town America and I'm in a rural area. I know shit can happen. And the good old boy syndrome can come into play, and everybody knows everybody. What are you willing to do? I think it's different.
Exactly.
I think the reasons are different, like in my small town versus like a Canton small town, because of where they're at, Northeast, and I'm in the South. The loyalties are different. Why you do the corruption or become a part of it may be different. The reasons why, right? It may be money in one part, maybe something else in another part, just because it's your brother, right? Who knows? But it can happen, and we can't say that it doesn't. So when we see it happening and we shine the light on it and we talk about it, that's great. And it's also great to prop up the ones who do a great job. And I'll tell you why I say that, because right in the midst of all of this, I see Detective Ray Hermosillo from the Lori Vallow case from Idaho on the docket. And he'd already done like another couple of interviews, but he was on there and he was an excellent show. This other guy got up there, but to see a cop who took pride in being a cop and being prideful of his investigation, and then the moment he had to take when he spoke about the victims, and the moment we gave him that grace to do so, right?
Yes.
That kind of brought it all home. Why we do true crime to start with, but to see a good cop finally for a minute. So, but we can't say so. Look at it both ways. It can happen. You just have to be open. And I think these jurors were open to that. They didn't go in there saying, "Well, the cops are never going to lie," or "They're going to always lie." I think they just went into it open minded. I hope they did anyway. And
Yes.
plus, they from the area. I don't care how much they did or didn't know about Karen Reed. They know their area. They know, like I do, like I know mine, like y'all know yours, right? They know the vibe, the feel, and the things that have been said over the years about the police, or good or bad. So they know things we don't know. And they had to consider all that as well, in my opinion.
Amen. Amen. Now, one last thing before we go, Salty, because we're coming up to the hour and we're doing a
Yes.
let's write a song together thing after this.
Yes.
A members only stream, unfortunately, but well, not for it just is. But I was just thinking, somebody I can't remember in the chat just a moment ago said, "I'm interested to see when and if Higgins appears again." And I think maybe you mentioned last time we spoke that Higgins was one of the ones you might have liked to have heard from.
Mhm.
In
Well, I'll
this
tell you
round.
now, I wish that they had called him, and here's the reason I say it. I get why they didn't, but after I listened to Yannetti talk, or he was who was it that interviewed him? Was it one of the last interviews? It's one of the
Did you watch
last
the
ones
Judy
they
Ron
did.
one?
The who?
Lawyer,
Yeah.
Judy Ron.
Yes. I think it might have been with Lawyer, I can't remember
Yes.
exactly which one. But okay, so it was one of the interviews, and they were talking about the preparation for the cross of Higgins and how he was so prepared and really wanted to do it. And I was thinking, man, I really wanted you to do it. But he was a little pissed off because the prosecution didn't call Higgins and the defense had decided not to, right? And they had their reasons for that, and they explained that in their interviews. And I understood it, even though I wanted to, because I just wanted to see him Higgins. I wanted to see him squirm. I wanted to see the defense team put that man through the hot seat, because there's your reason something could have happened in that damn house. Even though they didn't have to show me that part of the reason, they got him to the front door. The defense did that in testimony. They got John O'Keefe to that house, right? So I would have loved it, but I know for a fact, after listening to the attorneys, they were prepared to go at Brian Higgins on cross-exam, and I would have been so there for it. My God, could you imagine? That would have been so great to see. But it would have been brilliant, because he talks about how, and you can just see it in his face. I felt bad for him as an attorney that he didn't get the opportunity to do that cross-examination of Brian Higgins, because he was so fucking prepared for it and he put so much effort into it. He was going to really bring it home with that guy, I think, but Hank didn't call him. So yeah.
So, do you think that Higgins is let's do a bit of a moment of wild speculation. What do you think Higgins is doing right now? Do you think he's shitting his literal pants about whether the feds are breathing down his neck? Because if anyone's going to be prosecuted for something other than perhaps Meatball Morrissey, DA Michael Morrissey, I think it's probably Higgins for obstruction of justice. So, what are your thoughts? Maybe let's speculate.
Higgins is probably sitting somewhere on a deck with a fucking drink in his hand, thinking about, are they investigating me further? Are they investigating my phone further? My old accounts that may have been backed up further? Because we're not talking about, small town bullshit where you're allowed to just get off your phone what you want to give to them and throw the shit away. Let's go into deeper and find some backup accounts, FBI style. If you listen to Michael Easter's latest interviews, oh my God, and you see the capabilities of what they do have, and what
Yes.
they're capable of doing and finding and going. He talks about how there'd be a good reason to have an investigation into Brian Higgins. And yeah, I was like, oh, I'm here for this too. I was here,
Same.
here for it.
It's
So
it's not over, Salty. It's not over. I
no,
don't think it's over. I don't
mean,
think
if
it's going to
I'm
be
gonna,
the
if I'm putting this as a if I'm going with this theory, something happened in that house, because I don't buy this car accident thing. They just couldn't button that shit up. If that happened in the house, I still can't get over them throwing him out in the yard like that and just hoping for the best. Whatever, I'll figure that part out
like
last.
trash.
But
Like
if he got in
trash.
that house, who was the person in the house he had the beef with? If you go back to the Waterfall bar, it appears that person would have been the only one in there that it could have been, would have been Brian Higgins. Why? Because he's already texting Karen, what up or whatever he texted her. And the kiss over at John's house that Karen planted over onto Higgins or whatever, the text between Higgins. And I feel like, honest to God, this is my theory. They're heading over to John to Fairview, right? Karen's telling him, I don't want to go over there if that Higgins guy is going to be there. Why would she? Right? She already feels there's a vibe going on here. You're drinking. We're all drunk. Blah, blah, blah. Let's don't do this. John's like, fuck that. We're going in there. I'm going in there. They get there. Does John get out of that truck? Because if Karen pulls up ahead of Nagel and Buddy, and she pulls just past that driveway, right past the mailbox, and stops, and John gets out and walks to that front door, will they see him because the cars in the driveway are blocking his view as they're coming down Fairview? John gets to the house. He goes inside. Him and Higgins immediately. Fuck you. What the fuck are you doing, motherfucker? Boom. Sorry, y'all. Excuse my language. Y'all know me.
No, go for it. I agree. That's how it would have gone down.
If I'm gonna, because I got to make this theory work in my head. It's got to work.
Yeah.
So there you go. Oh shit, this dude fell back, and what the fuck now? What the fuck, Miss Shorty would say. What the fuck now? So yeah, what the fuck now, right? When do they decide to put him out front and leave him in the snow would be a good idea. Maybe we'll get a good story by daylight. Oh shit, here comes this chick. She's hollering.
Can I pause you for 1 minute? Sorry, Miss
go
Salty. Can I pause you 1 minute? Mr. Trial Channel, happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Oh, happy birthday.
With love from all of Camp Shorty. Have the best birthday ever, Mr. Trial Channel. There you go.
Nice. Happy birthday.
Sorry, keep going with your theme, man.
I mean, did they just put him outside and hope for the best? And then Karen shows up, and lo and behold, she's out there yelling, could I have hit him? Did I have hit him? Well, hell, let's just say she did. I mean, I don't know what story they would have concocted the next morning if Karen hadn't shown up saying all that.
Yeah.
What would have been their story if you're going with that conspiracy, right? If Karen hadn't shown up and started, yelling all that, what would have been their theory is how that happened? Like Princess saying the plow. Yeah. Exactly. Right. Could that, so you don't ever know.
I think the incident itself was
his Jeep.
Maybe it was at the hillside. It could have. I mean, the incident was. I think the incident was mildly orchestrated. I think there was, those gesturing at the waterfall was very clear. And then everything after that happened organically, in my opinion, and it just sort of, pardon the pun, but snowballed. That they kept having to add things in. Fortuitous that Proctor managed to get himself in there, and the rest, as they say, is history. But Karen had the last laugh. I don't know if she's necessarily laughing, but
because if you look at the waterfall, Karen and Jen seem to be totally fine with one another, right? As far as being comfortable in their presence. So it didn't make sense to me that Karen didn't want to get out once she got there, thinking she wasn't sure if she was welcome. Because she was comfortable around Jen. I think it was the idea of Higgins being there. She didn't want any fucking part of that shit. Right?
Exactly.
It's been a long day. I've been arguing with John today, the damn plumber situation, blah, blah, blah. Here we are now. Higgins is here. John's here. Like, I'm not dealing with this. Fucking John. John gets out to go in. Karen's like, you know what?
John's like, yeah, I'm going in though. Let's fucking go.
Right. And does Karen get pissed and leave? Yeah, maybe. And then she goes home and she calls him. Goes to hit. And then I just can't figure her backing into that man on purpose because she's pissed, taking off, flying to his house whipping in the driveway, running in the house, dialing him up, screaming at him, cussing at him, leaving those voicemails like she was doing with a man she knows she just left in the fucking snow dead or dying or whatever was happening to him. She would have been doing other things, in my opinion.
Yes, she would have been saying, "Oh, babe, where are you?" Or, "Oh, babe, like,
Yeah,
hey,
she
Johnny,
would have made it
Johnny,
different,
like,
right?
oh, I'm at home with the kids." She would have said, "I love you. Have a fun
We're
time."
worried
Yada
about
yada
you,
yada.
John. You never
Yeah,
came out of
yeah.
the house, John.
Mhm.
You went
Mhm.
inside. I called you and called you. I was worried about the kids. The storm's coming. I came home to the kids. Where are you? Please call me. Yeah, none of that.
Exactly.
It was totally different vibes. So yeah. So
Yeah.
yeah. So anyway, I'm glad the jurors saw it the way I did.
Yes.
Yay, jurors.
Well, thank you so much, Salty. Your insights and your insights have been invaluable and
Oh, thank you.
gave us much throughout the trial. We were reassured by where you were with things, and at the end of everything, it's apparent that the actual jurors had the same arc as you,
Yeah,
almost
because
identical,
we couldn't
really.
see the jurors, right, and their reactions and their expressions, and we just couldn't see anything about them, and we didn't get a lot of reporting about the jurors, as the trial was happening. So we just couldn't. It was so hard to gauge where they sat, right? How they were interpreting the evidence as it was presented the way we were at home. Are their jaws
Mhm.
dropping like ours are?
I think, yeah.
Are they cussing like we are? Things like that. So it was great that they did see the issues, and if the state really believes she did that and she hit him with that car, they miserably failed to prove their case, and that's their fault. So,
Mhm.
you know.
Mhm. Well, look, Salty, what's next for you? I know you were covering this trial live, and I know you do a lot of Coburg is your main focus now. Am I right? For now,
Well, Monday I had a show scheduled for this weekend, but I had a friend of mine passed away recently, and her celebration of life is this weekend tomorrow. But today I had to
okay.
help her family coordinate a few things this morning and get that done. So
Yeah.
I had a show scheduled that I had to postpone till Monday. But Monday I'm going to do an update on the Crystal Rogers case. It's been 10 years in the making for
Yes.
her to try. So I'm going to do a
Yeah.
full update on that on Monday.
I look forward
And
to it.
thank good. I'm looking forward to bringing it because I've been following it for 10 years, and I really want to see justice for Crystal and her dad and Jason Ellis and anybody else that needs it.
Mm.
But so I'm going to present that Monday, and then we are going to be doing a series looking into the Koberger case, kind of like going back to the beginning a little bit with some stuff and some old documents and reviewing some things, prepping for trial. And I'm going to be doing a little collaborations with Publicly Buzzed on the Idaho 4 case
Excellent.
coming up. It's
Excellent.
something he's putting together. So when he gets that together, he'll let you guys know about that. And I'm just
Yeah.
along for the ride. I'm like, hell yeah, I'm down. So looking forward to
Yeah.
that. That's what the plan is. I don't plan to cover a trial again until Koberger. It's going to be a long trial.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yes.
So
Salty, chat, and also myself. We as always, we always send love and hugs to you. But these
yes, we're also covering Barry Morphew. Thank you, Pokemon. Yes, because he just got
yes.
rearrested. So we did a show the other day, and we have the docket in Colorado, so we can keep up with all the latest documents there. So we'll be presenting Morphew as it's popping off in between the Koberger stuff leading up to the Koberger trial. So
Yeah.
we multitask over there on the channel, and we cover a couple of cases at a time.
Yes, yes. Well, your document deep dive and the conversations you have around them with Dolphin and Firefly and Joe Schmo are amazing.
Oh, thank you.
So if you're not already subscribed to Salty Sleuth Investigates, you need to be. What's wrong with you? And it's a nice little. It's a very similar. A lot of the chatters in my chat are over there in Salty's chat. Where lots of crossover. Same beautiful kind group of people. So so that and. Thoughts are with you for tomorrow, Salty.
Oh, thank
and
you. Thank
yeah.
you. Yeah, it's
and
all
we will
good.
catch. Yeah, we'll catch up with you. I would love to have. We talked Koberger. Did we talk Koberger a while ago? Yes. Was that?
We
Yes.
did touch
Yes.
on Koberger for a bit. Yeah, we did. we did.
Okay, so we might, like, I'm also following Crystal Rogers. That's at trial at the moment. So I'll be in your chat. And maybe we could even have a conversation here on Camp Shorty when that trial wraps up to talk about all of it.
Yes.
Would you like to do that?
Yeah, let's do that because Crystal's case deserves the light, and her family deserves all the justice. Her mom and her children. I mean,
been a long time coming.
her little boy Eli was like 2 at the time. He's 13 now, so her youngest child.
Okay.
So
Well,
yes,
we'll save the date maybe for a fortnight. How about that? And we
Yeah.
can talk about
We'll get it
everything,
going.
all things. Lovely. All right. Well,
right.
thank you so much, Salty.
Yeah, and thank you, chat. You
do
guys are great as always. Thank you for having me, Miss Shorty. It's always a fun time over here. I appreciate you guys.
Always a fun time. Thanks, Salty. We'll check you later.
Have a good night, guys.
Bye. I'm doing the devil horns. No. Thank you so much, Salty. Wow. Amazing. We did it, chat. Karen is freed. We got Salty to be free, Karen Reid. Did we? No, we didn't. We didn't put any pressure on Salty whatsoever. Salty's critical thinking and objective ability to look at all the facts presented in the trial and came to the very same conclusion we all have. So amazing. It's been an invaluable conversation every couple of weeks with Salty. I think I can speak for all that we've really enjoyed not just her insights, but her delightful personality. She's a shorty for sure. For sure. So, chat, let's wrap it up till the next stream. If you haven't already got your green on, get it on because we're going to write a song together. It's an open book. Who knows? We could write anything. Anything. Camp Shorty, Miss Shorty music collaboration. So strap in. There's a redirect already set up. And I will see you there. If not, I will see you on Thursday night US, Friday Australia time for my birthday celebration and our 1-year live streaming anniversary celebration show. So thank you to Ms. What the Fuck. Thank you to my beautiful moderators and all of you shorties, chatters. Don't forget to leave a comment afterwards. And of course, subscribe to Miss Salty Sleuth Investigates. Amazing. I will see you all in a minute. Karen is free. Amen.
I love you all so very much. We had a blast just chatting and stuff. Things may have gone bit off the rails. Professional when all else fails. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. We're skating through all the tough things, learning about this and that, defense motions, prosecution, and narcissistic twats. 'Cause chat is babe, so much to say. Emotes and all the all caps out. May have been cheese, bit faster please. The time has come, Camp Shorty out. Community, just you and me. Occasionally, Buster and Poppy. It's a whole thing, Miss Shorty swing. Together we make each other happy. 'Cause chat is better.